Alpha G has about 2,500 horsepower. Most people think that we started with DSMs and Evos, and while we were incorporated in 2001, AMS actually started in my garage at my house around 1999, and we were at the time messing around with the Merkur XR4 Ti. My best friend Martin was living with me and my girlfriend in this 800 square foot house. Martin was speccing out a camshaft for this 2.3 liter Ford, basically a Pinto engine is what it is, and found that basically every camshaft was designed for a naturally aspirated application. Martin set out to design a camshaft for these cars. So he tested them, and in about 2001, he was ready to launch a company revolving around this Merkur XR4 Ti 2.3 liter turbo camshaft. So about that time, he kind of realized, well, if I had a lift and a shop, we could all be working on the cars, not in my garage. So at the time, he didn't have any money to do so. So I said, well, I could buy the first lift, give me 25% of the company, and I'll just help you along. And really didn't have any intention of ever quitting my day job. At the time, I was driving heavy-duty tow trucks for a company called Fry's Automotive that I'd started when I was like 16 years old. Immediately, the 2.3 liter Ford turbo market crashed in '01. I guess looking back, offering a camshaft for a car that was made 15 years prior, probably not the best business plan. But at the time, Martin had a Mitsubishi Galant VR4, the four-door version of the Mitsubishi Eclipse with the 4G63 turbo engine, four-wheel drive, and we were kind of messing around with that, doing exhaust, boost controller, and we realized, well, this is a much better platform than the Merkur. Within 6 months, I had quit my day job and I was at AMS full-time. We hired 2 mechanics, we had a front sales guy. This is also around the time of the movie Fast and Furious coming out, so it was kind of like the perfect time to be starting an import performance shop. At the time, one of our mechanics, Adam, was a big street racer. He would build these Talons, and most notably a Mitsubishi Galant that was fairly fast for the day. We're talking mid 11, low 11, high 10-second cars, and we'd go out to these street races. Now this is 2001, 2002, when basically all these V8 guys who ruled the streets had no idea about these 4-cylinder cars and just couldn't believe that there was any 4-cylinder that could possibly beat them. So Adam probably is not the smartest street racer, because you'd think he would probably want to go out and maybe just beat somebody by a fender and kind of work his way up, but he would go out to these races and ask for the fastest car there and then spot them out. And we quickly gained a reputation of being cars you didn't want to mess with, and within a couple months it got to the point where if you had an AMS sticker on your car, you simply weren't getting a race. So about that time, we were also campaigning my wife's 1994 Eagle Talon. Thing made about 400 wheel horsepower. And same thing, we would just play it off like it's my wife's car, like, how fast can this thing be? We actually had a customer who had the identical car, and he would call us on Friday and Saturday nights being like, man, you guys ruined my game. It's '02, now '03, and street racing's starting to get a little dicey. So we started getting into sanctioned drag racing. At the time, there was the Nopi drag racing series. So we built a couple cars and campaigned it in that. We were up against Toyota Supras at the time, which were obviously notably faster than our little 4-cylinder Mitsubishis, but we did our best. So moving into 2003, the Mitsubishi Evo was getting brought over, and now we had a platform to kind of start building some real parts for. Probably the best way to promote these new Evo products that we're making is to set the world record for the fastest Mitsubishi Evolution. So we built a car over the winter of 2005 to 2006, and without any testing, we debuted it at the 2006 One Lap of America, where we actually came in 3rd place overall in this completely untested car. So that made some waves. We stuck with time attack racing through 2006, 2007. We purchased a 16,000 square foot building in West Chicago, moved to operation out there, expanded it to 35 employees. So for the 2009 season, we debuted a new car with the Mitsubishi Evo 10, and we dominated the Red Line Time Attack that year. We were sponsored by NOS Energy Drink. We won the Unlimited Championship that year. In the selling of automotive aftermarket parts, it's a lot easier to sell an elapsed time at a drag strip or a speed on an airport runway than it is a time around some track. When the Nissan GT-R came out, everybody was talking about how this car was unable to be modified. We got this car in and started messing with it and realized what an amazing chassis this was. And the car, while it's a good car around the track, it brakes, it turns, really where this car shines is in acceleration. So we got back into the straight line game. Over the course of the Nissan GT-R project, we were the first in the 9s, the 8s, the 7s, and the 6s. So the biggest car that we ever built for ourselves was Alfa Omega, and this is the car that we tested out all the new products on, found all of the weak links with this car, run an 8.6 in the quarter mile the very first time it was out, set the 1 mile record a week later at 233 miles an hour, and we were off to the races. This car was like something that no one had ever seen before, and we incrementally got faster and faster, got it farther into the 8s, eventually into the 7s, and in street trim we ran a 748 in the car before retiring it. But our craziest customer build was Alpha G, which is the R35 GTR that broke into the 6s last year at Texas 2K 2017. Alpha G has about 2,500 horsepower. While it's not technically a street car, it is a street car-ish. And we started dabbling in the Mercedes V8 bi-turbo market and the Audi R8 V10. We did a twin turbo kit for that. We moved into the Lamborghini Huracan, and we did a turbo kit kind of early on that car. After 15 years of being in the automotive performance business, it kind of wears on you. It's a cutthroat business where the profit margins are pretty small. It's kind of a business where you really need to babysit it without making very much money. What always got me about the performance industry is you can't charge as much as a dealer charges to work on these cars, but at the dealer, really all they're doing is changing out parts. And here we are re-engineering cars, taking a 500 horsepower car and trying to figure out how to make 1,500 or 2,000 horsepower, yet you can't charge a labor rate, that coincides with the amount of engineering effort, risk, liability that kind of goes along with that. And a lot of times you've got a car on the dyno where it's supposed to make 1,500 horsepower, but it makes 1,450 horsepower. Well, where's the 50 horsepower? So the car comes off the dyno, you take it apart, you investigate, what's going on, and that eats up a lot of energy, effort, and profit. A lot of shops would just let that go, but at AMS that's simply not acceptable. And we're putting our name out there on these cars, and they have to be built to the best of our ability. Overall, every day coming to work really was just hanging out with your friends, doing cool things, and having the world be your audience. To me, I like progression. I like the next challenge, but we're getting to a point where how much faster can these cars get? And at the time, I did my first Cannonball in 2015, and I kind of started heading in the direction of liking to do Cannonball, exotic car rallies, and this kind of thing. So I guess it's kind of ironic that we started out street racing, decided that it was too dangerous, went fully sanctioned racing, and now I've come full circle, and I'm doing outlaw, underground, illegal, transcontinental races.